possible to try to bring a normal experience back to the kids.
Avon High School is now switching to e-learning after several positive cases of COVID-19. We take a look at the updated plan to keep students and staff safe.
New data from the state giving us an updated look at how COVID-19 is impacting Indiana.
Patients are coming in severely injured, and I think some of that is people are out and about and being outside much more.
A local hospital system says people are taking more risks and ending up in the emergency room. Why health experts think this uptick is related to the pandemic and their urgent message for you. Welcome to the news at 6 on RTV6. I'm Amanda Starrentino.
And I'm Mark Mullins. First tonight, all eyes are on the radar. Potentially damaging storms are starting to enter the state of Indiana. That means it's a Storm Team 6 alert day, and we need to get straight to Chief Meteorologist Kevin Gregory. Kevin, what are we seeing now?
And Mark, typically I would say with damaging wind potential, and in this case I would just use the word likely. We'll likely see damaging wind with this line of storms. That's certainly been the history from Iowa across Illinois and now into the Hoosier State. Here we are at 6 p.m. and they're pushing into Tippecanoe County, not far from Lake Freeman, Lake Schaefer, and Monticello, and then Williamsport and Attica. Damaging wind and heavy rainfall, the main impacts. The closer we get, you see the line pushing through Williamsport. These are all thunderstorm warnings. Crawfordsville, Lafayette, to Delphi, and Logansport, you will see the strong wind before you have the heavy rainfall. With these moving at 60 miles per hour, I've used our storm tracker all the way to Frankfort here within the next hour. Crawfordsville, Frankfort, Rossville, Delphi, and through Logansport as these storms move quickly. I just want to show you the line goes all the way into lower Michigan. There are warnings along this line for almost 300 miles from lower Michigan all the way down to around St. Louis. We'll follow this, let you know when the storm threat ends coming up.
A local high school is changing course as it deals with multiple confirmed COVID-19 cases. Working for you, RTV6's Stephanie Wade shows us the changes Avon High School is making to keep students and staff safe and healthy.
A change of plans for students in Avon. After today, students here at the high school will be e-learning for the rest of the week. The district looking into a hybrid option of e-learning and in-person classes for the remainder of the month.
I kind of expected it because I had seen that the cases were going up, so it was a matter of time before it happened.
Yanina's daughter is a freshman at Avon High School. She was excited to get back and begin high school in person, but
I told her this morning, and she's like, no, you have to be kidding.
Now that's changing. As of Monday, 9 people have tested positive for COVID-19 within the district. 5 cases at the high school, 1 at Pine Tree Elementary, 1 at Hickory Elementary, 1 at Avon Intermediate School West, and 1 at East.
I don't think it's going to stop until there's a vaccine or some kind of quick cure or prevention medicine out there.
Yanina works during the day and says she prefers to have her kids in school, but understands why they needed to pull back.
I went ahead and got all my kids tested because, there's 6 of us in the house, and if that was the case, I needed to make sure, for work. So we all did, and we all came back negative, so we're good. But it was a little nerve-wracking because, my kids had to stay at home. My husband's working from home, luckily.
With her husband in meetings all day working from home, she feels e-learning isn't the best for her kids.
I don't think they're as focused. They have access to their TVs, video games, cell phones, anything that they can, get distracted by. No matter what you do, if you're at work, you're not there to supervise them.
The district plans to move to a hybrid schedule next week, beginning August 17th, then eventually return to in-person classes August 31st. In the meantime, for Yanina and her family,
be optimistic and hope that there is something out there soon so we can go back to being some kind of normal.
Stephanie Wade, RTV6.
And Avon Community Schools denied our interview request today, nor would they confirm how many students and staff had to quarantine as a result of these 9 positive cases. Administrators say they are reviewing and finalizing options for a hybrid approach at Avon High School that will allow for fewer students in the school using both in-person and online instruction. At this time, no other adjustments are being made at any other Avon school.
There are fewer newly confirmed COVID-19 cases today, but you may not want to read too much into that. The Indiana State Department of Health reports 673 new cases of COVID-19, down from 1,048 new cases reported yesterday. However, numbers on Monday tend to run lower due to some weekend testing delays. Since the pandemic began in March, 74,992 Hoosiers have been diagnosed with coronavirus. The Department of Health also confirms 3 newly reported COVID-19 deaths. So far, a total of 2,838 Hoosiers have died from the virus. More than 852,000 people in our state have been tested for coronavirus, with 8.8% of them testing positive for it. Data from the state also shows that 38.6% of Indiana's ICU beds are available. COVID-19 patients are using about 13.5% of the ICU beds. Non-COVID-19 patients are using 48% of those beds, and 82.5% of the state's ventilators are available as well. According to multiple media reports, the Big Ten is expected to cancel its fall football season. The Detroit Free Press is reporting that the Big Ten will officially announce tomorrow that the conference will not play football this fall because of COVID-19 cases are not subsiding in most states. If that happens, Purdue and IU football won't be playing on Saturdays this autumn. Again, the official announcement from the Big Ten is expected tomorrow.
The COVID-19 pandemic seems to be sparking a trend when it comes to people acting on impulse. Troy Washington is working for you to explain there is a spike in trauma cases at some emergency rooms to back up that claim. The urgent warning for you tonight.
We had a record June with over 400 trauma which is the most we've had in 5 years.
Trauma means crash injuries. Serious falls are traumatic brain injuries stemming from serious accidents. And what's different these days is the global crisis, putting people in a space they've never been in before. Doctors say numbers started to spike this summer, and looks like people are just desperate to get out and get going.
That's significant because patients are coming in severely injured. And I think some of that is people are out and about and being outside much more. And so a lot of my recommendations are to, in addition to taking care of your health, also try and avoid risky behaviors.
It's not just the physical trauma that plays a role, it's also the mental trauma of it all. Therapeutic Rose practice owner Darian Rose explains how we arrived to this place in the first place.
When you take away a privilege of like freedom of going out and doing things, and you therefore have to replace it. So people are replacing it by doing all these crazy things.
According to him, it's all mental before it becomes physical and just a way to cope through the pandemic.
It's an unseen enemy. And because we can't see it, we don't know how to fight it. And that's the same thing that goes on with trauma, PTSD. I'm not surprised to see a spike in it at all.
He says everyone has their vices and people typically have an outlet, but with all the restrictions, he believes people are being pushed to react impulsively.
Wear your seatbelts when you're driving, wear your bike helmets when you're riding bikes, wear your helmets when motorcycles.
She insists that just taking some extra steps and moments to reflect on being more cautious during these times can make all the difference. Working for you, Troy Washington, RTV6.
And the therapist we spoke with describes it as a form of acting out. He explains it could be caused from exhaustion linked to surviving a pandemic.
It's been more than a week since extra unemployment dollars expired. Working for you, Call 6 Chief Investigator Rafael Sanchez shows us why the promise of once again getting extra money won't be happening this week.
A change in expectations. Hearing the president's executive order on unemployment benefits. The president offering an extra $400 to replace the $600 which ended on July 31st. But when will Hoosiers see financial relief is still unclear. The $400 is to be paid out to states like Indiana, which put up 25% of the cost, which is $100 of the total amount. While states and the feds hammer out the details, the Department of Workforce Development, which issues unemployment benefits, is in limbo, waiting for guidance on what to do next, as the state's moratorium on rent and utility bills expires this Friday. On Sunday, thousands of Hoosiers filed to get unemployment payments beginning today. $390 remains the maximum. The people counting on the extra $400 will now have to possibly wait weeks unless something changes in the nation's capital. Rafael Sanchez, RTV6.
The Indiana Department of Workforce Development is waiting to get guidance from the U.S. Labor Department, and then it will determine whether it can participate in the program and whether or not it can afford to be in the program. In less than an hour, Indianapolis Mayor Joe Hogsett will give his State of the City address. His remarks will help kick off the 2021 proposed budget, as well as discuss the city's efforts to stop the coronavirus outbreak and the new investments into criminal justice reform. Hogsett's address will be virtual and is scheduled for 7:05 tonight. It will be live streamed on our website, theindychannel.com, also on the RTV6 app and the RTV6 Facebook page.
So often this summer when we've had thunderstorms, we don't all see the rain. In this case, the good news is we will all see the rain. The bad news, it will come with some damaging wind. The focus on this line of storms from Monticello to Lafayette to nearly Rockville. We'll talk about that when we come back.
If you're looking for a job or maybe want a career change, there is an industry still looking for new workers. What you need to know in our Hiring Hoosiers report.
And I'm Dave First. It'll have a different feel when practice begins for the Indy 500 later this week, but Graham Rahal sees a bigger picture. How it'll help a multi-million-dollar industry coming up in the Sports Extra Spotlight.
Well, here's Live Drive in western Indiana, headed north on 41. Then we'll intersect I-74 and head east toward Crawfordsville, which will keep Jake Weller, who's driving the vehicle. He's got his camera mounted there so he doesn't distract from what he's doing. But we'll stay just ahead of the storms that are headed toward Crawfordsville through Lafayette and Frankfort. We'll talk about that more in a second. Oh, I'm doing the whole thing right now. Okay, all right, I surprised myself. Got a lot of balls in the air here. Let's talk about what's going on here with the big picture. We're on alert for the storms that are entering the state. No surprise here. These storms started around noon in Iowa, have made steady progress to the east across Illinois, and now arriving in the Hoosier State. Heavy rainfall will be relatively brief, but I think this area of storms will be backed up by another round later tonight that should be non-severe. All the yellow represents where we have a thunderstorm watch in effect for all of central Indiana. If the line of storms is coming your way, there will be a severe thunderstorm warning, and this bears that out. The entire line from South Bend to Crawfordsville to just west of Terre Haute now, with thunderstorms along it. Each line segment is about 30 miles wide, with these moving at 65 to 70. Again, I don't think it's going to be there at your house more than a half hour. Let's zoom in. Lafayette, now the storms have arrived. Monticello, Delphi, this is moving to the east, southeast at about 60 miles per hour. Crawfordsville, Frankfort, Galveston, and Peru will be on the eastern edge of this, all by 6:45. And as you go down toward Rockville, you see the expansion of some of these cells with heavier downpours right in central Park County. Again, we move that to the south and east quickly through Ladoga, Rockville, Highland, and into Clay County, and eventually into Putnam County as well. Longer view, there's your arcing area of storms, and this big bow right here represents where the strong winds are pushing out. Just to show you the storm reports behind that, look at this. Everywhere it's been, it's created damaging wind gusts and back into Iowa, which means that's our main threat. Make sure your cell phone is charged. Make sure the patio furniture, if you have a big umbrella in the back porch, put that away. Anything else that could be a hazard in these winds. Storm Shield app is absolutely free. It's incredibly helpful. It'll give you peace of mind. If you lose power, as long as your phone is charged, you'll get warnings to your location. Temperatures at or above 84 most of the week. These thunderstorms then on a daily basis will just come and go. I don't expect all-day rains. Temperatures will be in the mid-80s. You hear what I hear here. Whenever a warning is issued, let me just check this real quick. I guess the fastest way to do that is just go back to the warnings page. But I do anticipate, as I mentioned, everywhere these storms go to the south and east, the warnings will just be expanded to include those counties. So right now, from Peru down to Kokomo to Tipton, and then back west to Frankfort, Crawfordsville, and just west of Terre Haute. Mark.
Kevin will be back with us soon for another update. Thanks, Kevin. Our Hiring Hoosiers initiative works to keep you up to date on training opportunities that could lead to a better career. One industry is still looking for workers in the multi-family industry, and the Indiana Apartment Association is launching a new apprenticeship program to help give you the skills you need to become a service technician. Here's our Lauren Casey with that story.
When we started this program, the whole training, the world was very different. So we hope we will be able to find even more people to train now that the unemployment rate is so high.
An initiative to get more skilled workers in their industry during a time of high employment in our state has taken a turn in the recent months as more and more Hoosiers find themselves without a job. A new training program provides new opportunity to break into an industry that's still busy through this pandemic.
There are all kinds of openings in our industry as a lot of people have a lot of openings for service technicians.
Lynn Peterson is the president of the Indiana Apartment Association, or IAA. The association represents owners and managers of more than 250,000 apartment units statewide. And through these uncertain times, she tells me they still plan to launch this IAA Career Pathways Service Technician program. Training is free. They'll learn the basics of plumbing, electrical, fair housing, and more. Then the candidates are paired with an on-site member for this paid internship with a goal to be hired at the end.
So this is a couple-year process, but all the while they will be working, be gainfully employed.
The program has been requested by IAA members looking to fill positions in this field.
Perfect candidate would have a high school education or equivalent. They obviously are not interested maybe in going into college. They like working with their hands.
And for people like David Creek, the opportunity to advance in your career is a big perk of his job.
I started out as a part-time groundsman, and within 5 years, I was running my own property. I was running my own 160-unit property.
David is now the director of maintenance for Hayes Gibson Property Management.
So the growth is there. The growth is what you choose it to be. In the early years of the career, there's going to be a lot of learning that's going to take place. One of the biggest things that I can say is I love the hands-on, because to me, I'm okay with reading about it in a book, but I want to get my hands dirty.
He says a typical day on the job is busy but interesting.
Tell you, some of the challenges is we as maintenance people have to wear different types of hats. We got to wear a plumbing hat, we got to wear a electrical hat.
But the satisfaction of helping people makes it all worthwhile.
I don't have to sit at a desk all day long. I can get out there and I run into so many different things, which makes it amazing. When you get something fixed, it's the satisfaction that you got it accomplished.
Working for you, Lauren Casey, RTV6.
And to apply, just head to our website, hiringhoosiers.com, and click on this story. There we'll have a link to that online application for you. The deadline to apply is September 7th, and the program starts on the 14th.
The wait was longer than usual, but practice for the Indy 500 begins this week. Day first, Brad Brown and driver analyst Tony Kanaan begin Trackside 6 coverage on Wednesday.
There have been so many changes to the IndyCar series this year, from the schedule to whether fans can attend. But for at least one driver, there's also a bigger picture. Day first with tonight's Sports Extra Spotlight.
Race month certainly has a different look, a different feel, but at its heart, it's still the Indy 500. On a Zoom call, it's that thought that'll have Graham Rahal going over the next couple of weeks.
I mean, certainly there's not a day that goes by that you don't think about or dream about winning the Indy 500. Clearly winning it this year will be slightly different than maybe other years, but it all means the same.
And that's why the next time he puts on his helmet, slides into his high-powered Honda, and puts on the driving gloves, he'll tell anyone with conviction,
we have to run this race.
The next 2 weeks may come without fans in the stands, but as disappointing as that is for Central Indiana, there's a bigger picture.
Trust me, I get the heat for it on social media when I say that teams probably wouldn't live without this race. I get, of course, all the fans. Well, I don't care about the teams, Well, fine, that's great for you, but for us, we do, and we care about the jobs that it provides and the cottage industries that it provides in Indianapolis and everything else that it does for our city, the economic impact. We have to have this race.
It's a race Graham's yet to win. Last year's run ended with 25 laps to go and contact involving Sebastian Bourdais in turn 3. Next week will mark his 13th start in the 500, as dealing with adversity comes with the territory this year more than ever.
For instance, Mid-Ohio got delayed, right? And I called the engineers and chief mechanic, and the response was, hey, that's great because, you know, now we can spend a little extra time massaging on the suspension, or now we can spend a little extra time doing this or that for Indy. And I'm kind of proud of that mentality because they've kind of taken it in stride.
Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan Racing will attack the month with 3 drivers, including 2017 Indy champ Takuma Sato and last year's front row starter Spencer Pigot. All can't wait to take off.
Still going to be the biggest race of the year and the one that I think we're all looking forward to the most.
We should be really happy and appreciate the Indy 500.
We want to go win the thing and find ourselves in victory lane.
Practice begins Wednesday. The big picture will go beyond that. Day 1st, RTV6 Sports.
As you can see, the rain is light here. This is Jake Weller headed east on Interstate 74. So the strongest portion of the storm is behind him. He's headed toward Crawfordsville. He's just out ahead of the storm that's now entering western portions of Montgomery County. That's through the windshield. This is what he would see through the rear view mirror. There's the line of storms arcing from South Bend through Lafayette to west of Crawfordsville to Terre Haute. We put that in motion. Continues to move east, southeast. It shows no signs of weakening. I don't expect that to happen. We just had a measured wind gust just a little bit ago, meaning it wasn't estimated. This was an instrument that measured a 67 mile-per-hour wind gust, that in Covington. We'll continue to track these storms. Again, put patio furniture away. Expect up to 70 miles per hour on the winds as they move through. World News is next. I'm staying right here. We'll break in when necessary.